Welcome to our live webinar on ideas for an impactful COVID-19 Easter, which is the craziest thing ever to have to say. I think we're living in some seriously unprecedented times. But that's one of the reasons we threw this webinar together. And I'm super excited to introduce you guys to our panel here. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to share with you guys just some really impactful ideas. Hang on a second. I think we got is the audio back? You guys just give me a head nod. Cool. Okay. We threw this together in 24 hours, so expect maybe a glitch or two just like that. But I want to introduce you guys to these panelists. I think one of the biggest things is I've noticed right now, people are just desperate for hope. And you have an opportunity right now. I know we're talking about things like maybe canceling Easter, but you have an opportunity right now to speak about the resurrection in a way that more people are listening than they probably would be on any other Easter. And so these people you see before you are some of the people that are my go-tos when I want to come up with creative, impactful ideas for Easter. So I want to introduce you guys. You guys can go ahead and unmute your mics if you want. We've got Matt Popovits. He's author, speaker, writer, and also a senior pastor in Houston, Texas. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We've got Chris Paavola. Chris Paavola has been a media director or a creative arts director at a major church, became a church planner, caught that bug, and is planted a church in St. Louis that he wants to look as diverse as his community. And some of the stuff they are doing is really cool. Chris, welcome.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Emily Stooksbury, formerly Emily Finke, one of my favorite people on the planet here. Emily is the communications coordinator at The Point, a church I love because it's one that I helped start. And Emily is just amazing when it comes to social media and outreach. And she's also been a National Youth Gathering main speaker. She is just an all-star when it comes to communication. So Emily, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
Seth Hinz, I love this guy. He has a passion for marketing for people with a purpose. He's worked in the university setting. He's worked on a district level with multiple churches of all sizes. And currently he is I'm gonna get this right, marketing and communications director for Pathfinder Church in St. Louis.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
Welcome. And then Ben Griffin, I love this guy, church planter and now church plant multiplier. He's with Link in the Twin Cities. Ben has always kind of been on the cutting edge of doing ministry and outreach. And so Ben, thank you so much for coming. Cool.
Honored
So
to be here, if you can hear.
I can hear, we can hear you now. All right.
You
So
were
we've got
for a second.
our test. Everybody's unmuted. So what I want to do is one of the things we did, I'm sorry the audio didn't share, guys. I forgot to click the button that I forget to click every time. But what you saw there was a video that has great audio from Igniter.com. And the reason I wanted to kind of kick us off with a countdown and that kind of video is those are two things you can do when you're live streaming a service. And in fact, if you go to things like Igniter and Worship House Media, you can actually use those online with the online license. So that's another way that you can kind of spice things up, make it a little bit more engaging in the online worship. But I thought it'd be a fun way to kind of tease it out. So really quick before we get started, if you have questions about how to start or launch a live stream, we're not going to dive into those here, but we found out there was a need for that. So at 3 o'clock Eastern, we're going to do another webinar that is totally focused on that and that alone. So you guys can sign up for that. We'll throw that in the chat so you can find it. You can also ask Q&A questions and we'll get some time to respond to those. But guys, I just want to dive in and throw it to our panel. The first question I've got for you guys is, what do people need to keep in mind just from like the live stream perspective of leading a worship service, and especially a service as big as Easter?
I'll jump in. I think the first thing that I would say is that understand right out of the gate, there's a big difference between live streaming a worship service while it's happening and creating a worship for live stream. There's a huge difference between just planting a camera in front of something that's happening with a group of people, which is what most of us do right now, versus producing something that is for a mobile or home viewer in mind. It's two very different things. And so it requires a whole different a whole different viewpoint of how you're going to program and program that experience, and what your camera shots will look like, and those kind of things, and what you're going to ask of the participant. And so it's not an insurmountable whatsoever rethinking, but it is a rethinking of what you're putting together, because you're putting together something for someone that's primarily viewed as essentially a television show. So you have to start thinking like that.
Yeah, you guys are all shaking your heads. So give me some examples of what that rethinking might look like. Because for most of us, worship's like an hour. It's got, every element you can kind of throw in. Talk to me about time. Talk to me about some of the things you're shifting around.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, Ben, you do it. Go, Ben. Oh, he froze up again. I think he froze up. Maybe your signal there, Ben. Here, I'll jump in while you fix your signal. I think it's not just, I echo everything that Matt just says. Yeah, there is a difference between a worship service, a live stream of a worship service, or a worship service for a live stream, an entirely different experience. And I think also just kind of the other dynamic that's in this is that there is the social distancing going on. So we have all the and so people want to feel a sense of intimacy, and fortunately, live stream lends itself to that. Live stream lends itself to a more intimate experience of being in your living room, and it's, at least from my perspective, it was helpful, or it's been helpful to reverse engineer it from the end user experience and realize that it's their interaction that's shaping the experience versus, what I want to say. And starting from that point, I still say the things I want to say, or we still get to those points, but it's going, okay, their interaction and their engagement is the driving factor here. Otherwise they're checked out and they're passive, so it's questions, it's Q&As, it's responding to them, but calling them out by name, all those kind of things that just make it's not an experience for a large room. It's an experience for an individual.
Yeah, something that makes it feel like I'm not just sitting there watching a Netflix show, but I'm actually engaged in kind of what's going on. In fact, you guys can pop questions in the Q&A as we're going if you want to engage with this. That's a great one, Chris. I love that. What else are you guys thinking?
I'll go. For us, it's so the live stream of the service, or however you're going to end up having the format of it, is important. For us, it's that pillar moment for the week, because everyone's gathered at the same time. I think for us, we've tried to integrate moments into our service. Maybe it's during the offering, or it's during communion when there isn't that ability to be participatory in that. Where we're having conversations, where we bring somebody off to the side and we have them on camera just talking to the live stream audience, asking them questions, getting them to engage. I think integrating moments like that is important, but then also finding ways during the service to either move people towards a group that's going to connect, especially in this time, towards a group that's going to connect in what Brady Shearer calls, that 167. There's 168 hours in a week, and we are together for like an hour. So how are we going to move from that live stream moment and the gathering in person to creating a group or a community online? And I think we need to consider how we're going to be moving people into groups where we can be gathering them and having conversations, especially when everyone's kind of just sitting. So using moments in your service to shift people, whether it's a Facebook group or something else, just be thinking about how are we going to pivot off our main highlight of the week to just ongoing conversation.
Jump on that a little bit. Like you can have a moderator typing at a keyboard, answering questions during the live stream as well. So it doesn't have to be the person on camera interacting, just to jump on what Seth said there.
Yeah, we actually did that Sunday, and that just was huge for our interaction. We had 80 plus comments. We had anywhere we were live streaming, we had a moderator that was helping to answer questions, let people know that we're engaged. And I think the engagement went up a lot just because of that. And that was a simple thing to do.
Yep. Yeah. And you can just put somebody in the comment section, in the chat section, whatever platform you're using. And they're there as the moderator to encourage interactivity and things like that. And whatever platform you're using, I mean, you don't have to buy some proprietary software for this, although that's certainly available. I mean, you can just, The person people who are moderating the service and leading the service, they can have a phone with the Facebook stream or whatever it is you're using open, and they can look at comments there, and they can draw things out and create connectivity that way too. Just kind of having your own device to moderate and monitor what's happening and find moments to pull that into the service. I think one big thing to keep in mind is that someone has to speak directly to camera at all times, because again, your audience is on the other side of a lens, not in a congregation. So if I'm watching an event and the person on camera is like this, talking to everybody else who's not there, that does not engage me. The point of focus is now the person on the other side of the camera. So it's welcome to worship. Here's what's going to happen right now, and here's where we're going next. And the shot should be tight. The eyes should be locked on, and you should be speaking directly to the person on the other side of the camera, because again, you're producing something for outside of that room. And a great way to accomplish that is have a host that's there throughout the whole moment and the whole morning, kind of leading people through the service, that trusted presence to be there and guide them through, and is always talking to camera, and everyone else is addressing the audience at home straight into the camera as well.
That's huge. How are you guys, kind of dealing with the fact that a lot of churches have kind of a broad scope? So you've got Gen Z, millennial, digital natives, super comfortable on these platforms, all the way up to your boomers and maybe even some elders. And so how are you considering that in kind of your live stream presentation?
Yeah, there's been a lot of questions about how to do that, especially online in several of the groups we've been on. There are technologies out there. A lot of people are considering Zoom right now, the one we're on, because this functionality, as opposed to YouTube, with Zoom, you can have people call a number. So everyone has a phone of sorts, whether it's mobile or still maybe a landline out there, then people can just call a number and participate via phone. So there's technology out there that can help accomplish it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's awesome. Emily, what are some things that you guys are doing?
You guys are such fast thinkers and talkers. I'm like processing every question. Yeah, we are actually taking church. We're usually meet in a movie theater and shut down everything. Also saving money on rent. Woo! So we're taking church to my living room, actually. So you can see we're going to be on the couch. It's going to be really comfy. And I'm excited to be way more engaged this Sunday. Like you guys have been saying already, being way more intentional about starting conversations in the comments and on Facebook and on live stream, providing material via PDF we're going to send via an email, and then also have on our website with discussion questions, because we're hoping to have small groups of, under 10 throughout Knoxville, where we're at, of people able to be in their homes still in some semblance of community. And then we're going to have that. Also like song lyrics, because we don't really have the licensing to have those presented. So we're going to throw those on the website, stuff like that. So trying to get it to, we have a relatively younger crowd. So that makes things a little bit easier, but trying to give multiple avenues for people to engage, whether they are alone in their living room or in these small groups, feeling comfortable and like they're a part of something bigger than just their self and their coffee cup.
Yeah.
That's all, and I think, to what you guys are saying, Caleb Cox just texted in or asked us a really great question on the Q&A. Caleb Cox said, is the interaction with the moderator just something the participant needs to learn that they have permission to do? We asked a few questions last week. There wasn't much engagement. I'm guessing it's just a learning curve. How are you guys letting people know, hey, we want you to interact?
I would, we've been doing a daily prayer, which, by the way, is another thing that is a way we can be doing interaction through the season. It just so happens we were going through 40 days of prayer. But that daily prayer is another, touch point every day, and different leaders are actually leading it, and not just me, but there is a learning curve where I think people have gotten more comfortable typing in amen or typing in yes, Jesus. And it's demonstrated having like a few key people out there, like demonstrating interaction, I think is huge, but also just calling it out directly, saying, we are going to interact with you both, in what we're saying, but also with different people. Hey, we have Amanda, who's one of our moderators today. Just make sure you're responding to what Amanda says. And it's just an opportunity. So I think there's there's a learning curve. Is the answer to Caleb's question.
That's awesome. And Ben, I wanted to ask you, you're dealing with a really diverse group of churches, multi-ethnic, first generation. How are you guys like stepping into this, and what are some of the things you're doing?
Yeah, honestly, it's not all that different. The technology is the same. The challenges are the same. I mean, some of the language is a little different, and some of the struggle is we work with people who are highly relational in cultures. And so building community is really important, and even in smaller ways. So for instance, having a watch party at somebody's house. So maybe there are a few people who are still gathering. So a house can become a place where a few people can still connect, share food and some other things as they're connecting. Another idea that we're playing with, we haven't enacted yet, is to have people shoot some videos ahead of time, just an iPhone video. Hey, what's your worship space look like? What is your family doing to engage your neighborhood? And then piecing those things together. It's not even a high-tech thing to do, so that when you have your worship, you're sharing those, and you're not just centered on wherever the pastor is, but you're really moving the center of worship to where your people are.
Yeah, and that would probably be the benefit. And Zoom's not expensive, guys. This is not like when you look at what you can do with it, it's not an expensive platform. And this would be a great way to engage multiple people at various levels. We're Facebook Living it right now. We're engaging with our participants. Tim Bayer's got a great question we're going to pop up next. But if you're also looking to get in, we'll talk about it at 3, but this could be a great spot for you guys to do it as well. Tim asked, can you speak to leveraging experiential elements on an online platform for Easter or any other worship experience?
I'll run with that one, and kind of building off what Ben said. So one of the things we're doing for this Sunday to try and make it as experiential as possible is that we've asked several people in our congregation to take some of the more collaborative communal moments in the service and pre-record those from where they'll be watching. And so we have a family that has recorded them reciting the Lord's Prayer. So they're going to lead us in the recitation of the Lord's Prayer. And then we have someone else who's recorded the responsive reading for the day, and they're going to lead us in that. And then we had someone film a kids moment who's going to be worshiping with us from Arizona, and the responsive piece involved in that. And so we gave them some simple instruction on how to record that on their iPhone. And so at like 4 or 5 different moments in the service, we're going to cut to different people who are saying, hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm worshiping today with you from Arizona, and I'm going to be leading the responsive reading. So repeat after me.
Dude, I'm stealing this.
I know.
Stealing this idea as soon as we get off this call.
And so I can write down, oh, this is awesome.
So then what that allows is us we're saying, all right, we're going to build in these collaborative moments, but then we're going to bring people who are worshiping with us from the outside in, but we have them pre-record those pieces so that we have some quality control over it and stuff, make sure it works, but it shows them out in the field worshiping with us, and it brings them in. So it gives a collaborative view to the service, but then also we make sure that those are the moments that we're asking other people to interact with.
So you're like making these light bulbs go off, but you could also do that with your worship leaders in their living room. Have your guy playing a guitar or your piano player lead a song, and then you don't have the glitchiness of trying to do lyrics and delay and all that kind of stuff. You can actually then go just throw it into whatever video software, iMovie, add the lyrics on top of that file, and then use that as the worship. Nobody would be they would be none the wiser that it was pre-recorded at all. That is so smooth, man. So smooth.
And we're running it all through ProPresenter, which many of us have.
Right.
So the video piece is just an element in ProPresenter that you click to, that you switch to on your live stream, and it just goes full screen on your live stream. Or you could also, if you're using a video switcher, like a simple kind of Roland switcher, you could overlay lyrics on top of that, or whatever you need to on top of that, as that sends out to live stream.
That's huge. That's great. Any other ideas like in kind of that vein? That's some good stuff. I'm taking notes like crazy over here. So I love it. I love it. Okay, so talk to me about how are you helping to engage kids
Hmm.
and kind of whole families? Because I think that's like, I think the adult element is actually easier to hit than like the kids. And they might be in the room, but you know, you only have so much time before you lose their attention. So what are you guys doing in that realm?
What are kids?
What are
I'm just kidding.
like no?
So here's what we're planning for Easter. So we're planning. We're hoping that here in Texas, because we have a very independent spirit, that we're going to be able to just break the rules by the time Easter comes around and do live service anyway. But we're planning as though we're not. So what we're doing for kids is we're going to publish ahead of time an Easter at home kit for families, where it's a list of things to gather up and get ready for the worship service itself, that we're going to then ask them to use in the service, all stuff that they have around the house, that we'll then use in during this part of the prayer. We're going to have you wave this as a family sitting on the couch. And then for the children's moment, we're going to have you take some of the Easter eggs you got, and we're going to have you do this and this with it. But we're ahead of time on our live page where the Easter service will go live. We'll say, here's your kit to gather for your Easter experience at home as a family. And then everybody has fun kind of putting that together, hopefully. And then when you're sitting at the couch or at grandma's watching this, you have that kit ready, and everybody grabs this piece, or the kids grab this piece, and you do that. So that's kind of what our plan is.
We're kind of doing the same thing. We had only talked about Good Friday this far. We're still having like this hope against hope that maybe Easter will happen. But for Good Friday, we're doing kind of the same thing. It's going to be in the home, but like different elements we've talked about using, leather and nails and pieces of wood, and having that as a part of the service. Also, what we're going to have is like kids activity sheets, that you would normally have for a service, whether it's if it's, Monday, Thursday, and you have the coloring sheet of washing the feet, or Palm Sunday, and it's a coloring sheet for entering Jerusalem or whatever it is, and having a few different kids activities available for download on our website, and just a link that's, put in the comments and stuff, so parents can go ahead and do that ahead of time or whatever it may be. Mailing stuff to everybody's home doesn't seem as realistic, but, having a PDF on the website is, that's a few clicks, man.
That's really cool. Yeah, we had to cancel our Easter egg hunt, and it's like huge for us. So our kids team's actually putting together little Easter baskets that have like the pancake breakfast stuff in there, the Easter eggs, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to deliver them out to everybody that registers. So yeah, Chris, you gave me a little fear there. I'm thinking about the logistics nightmare that's going to be, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. Yeah, talk to me about, so we're talking Easter, but yeah, a lot of people on this webinar do Holy Week stuff. They do Monday, Thursday, they do Good Friday. What are some stuff that you guys are thinking about along those lines?
Yeah, so our church does a Holy Week experience, which is basically we take one of our levels in one of our buildings, and we turn it into this like 7 to 9 stations where people kind of go in and they experience the Lord's Supper, and there's a small meditative moment in there, and they take this booklet and they walk around like through all the different stations of what the last week was like for Jesus. So we're contemplating on how do we make that. I mean, we had a bunch of people come through last year, but it's a very in-person experience. And so we've never wanted to like take that and translate that out. So we're exploring what that looks like if we set that up and then take people through the different stations, whether or not that would all be one video, or whether or not that would be a playlist series where people could, meditate at home and prayerfully go through with somebody kind of guiding them through. So yeah, Brave New World. I don't know yet.
We've thought about again, I don't know about the rights to all this stuff, but because streaming video on live stream has some copyright issues. But we've talked about what are some of the passion films and videos that we could simply maybe we could live stream something like that if we can get the rights to it, and host like a live streaming conversation around that for a Good Friday piece. Do you just host an online viewing of the Passion of the Christ? Is that possible? Can we get the rights to that? Can we do that kind of thing? I don't know. Can we get away with it because we're a church and not all the rules apply to us? I don't know. But that's one of the crazy ideas we've talked about. Do we just host an online viewing and watch party of that with some devotional resources and some comments?
Yeah, commentary falls under fair use. So maybe you could actually.
I don't know. It's
And we actually do that on our YouTube. We stick, especially if we have a movie clip or a specific clip, we make sure in the description we're writing, for educational or like worship purposes kind of thing at the bottom. And that actually keeps YouTube's algorithm from like cutting off our live stream.
Yeah.
So now, are you guys ready for the hardball question that is like flying through the chat, and everybody, like, people are sitting on the edge of the seat. They want to know what we think about this. Are you ready?
Go.
What do we do about communion?
So I was
now, and before we respond, guys,
go ahead.
if you're listening, we're all in the same boat. So I'm just going to ask you guys for a little collegiality. This is a brainstorm session. And we're all in different contexts. Matt's in Houston, we got Minneapolis, we got St. Louis. I'm in the quarantine hot zone. So we're all in different. So as we throw this out, just realize we're thinking through this with you and allow it to be that. So, okay, guys, fire away.
So so I appreciate that precursor, by the way, because I mean, we have to be to chorus with each other. Justin, this is the only like historical moment I'll throw into this whole webinar, but when there was plagues going on in the early church, Justin the martyr went door to door with communion. And I think there is this moment where I don't know where that moment is for us, because we celebrate communion once a month. And I think there might be a moment where we're just scheduling out, here's the time slots available for communion to be delivered. If you would like communion brought to your home, click here. And then it's a coalition of the willing. They self-opt into the thing. I can see that being a scenario versus, because I think things get, at least on for the logistics on our end, things get a little messy with drive up communions and stuff because of high contact surface areas and all that kind of stuff. So I think there might be a season where, just like I take communion to a shut-in, we're doing the same thing. And at least that's what the early church did. So there you go.
What other ideas do we have?
We've taken our two service times starting this Sunday. So we typically have service at 9 and 10:30. Our 10:30 service is going to be live streamed, and it's going to be closed to the public and for in-person viewing, but it'll all be on live stream. We've set up like a little production studio. But we've for our 9 o'clock service, we are opening our doors for a walk-through communion in family groups. So all adhering to the current guidelines for distance and the number of people in the room. And so people will be able to gather in our gym area where people can have space apart from each other. And then they form some lines that we've set up, and myself and a vicar then lead people through a very quick moment of confession, absolution, and the giving of the sacrament, and then they go home. The whole experience lasts about 20 minutes. And so we've asked people to, if they want the sacrament, to show up at 9 o'clock, and we're going to do that every single week. So if you want to be in person on a Sunday morning, bring your family, and you can show up and in your family group walk in, receive the sacrament, and then go home and remain in quarantine. And again, all the while keeping people appropriate distance from each other. We wrestled with the theology of consecrating elements over live stream airwaves. And I think that just creates too many complexities and problems for us to do that rightly without causing some confusion, at least for us. And so we've opted for having an in-person option at 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings. So
I actually have a thought on that one. A theologian who, I didn't ask him if I could share this, so I'm not gonna share who it was. He said, the communion is a gift to the church. And so something that can be done when you're absent a pastor is you can have the church as a whole share the words of institution together. So running off that idea, I kind of had the idea of, if we needed to, what we could do is, as we're stepping into the words of institution part, we put them on the screen and we say, we're going to say this together. Find a way to kind of get elements to our people that we know are regular communion people, and maybe even set it up like post live stream. So, hey, stick around if you're a part of communion, or do it earlier. I like how you're doing it earlier. And then basically say, hey, we're all going to say these words together. So it's not like Pastor Matt's magic's going through the screen or anything like that, but it's just, hey, we're the church and we're in extraordinary times. So we'll say these words together, and the elements you have in front of you are the body and blood of Christ, and we're going to take communion together virtually.
Jumping off of that and what Chris was saying, I have like been Little Miss Sunshine Silver Lining this whole time, probably to the annoyment of a handful of people, but I really am stoked because I feel like church stops being Sunday and it's going to literally take over all week because of this online thing.
That's a great point.
And what hopefully we're really hoping that these like neighborhood groups start meeting together in groups of like under 10. And we're hoping to take communion to them during the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, so people are still getting it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Sunday morning thing, that people are engaging all the time because they have nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. That's when they'll finally hang out together and and do other things. But I might be a little bit too hopeful, but I'm hanging on that end of things for now until I'm proven otherwise.
That's awesome. Ben, do you have any thoughts, Ben and Seth, on that one?
Yeah, I had an idea that came not fully formed that I'm going to hold on to lest I confuse everybody. But it had to do with the mailing elements of communion to people, and as I logistically thought about that, it was a nightmare in my head. But now
that you bring that up, they sell those little they're grape juice, which doesn't feel the same to me, but still. They sell those little communions that have like the wine and the wafer like built into that little contained pack. So could do that. You could totally do that. Yeah. See, for me, the struggle is we're all wrestling with, communion is communal. And so the heart of it is really the engagement relationally. So even if it's connected, and I actually like this, finding a way to connect it to more than the wafer and the wine. And is there a meal we're all sharing maybe from a distance, or that if we can mail it and everybody kind of pulls it out at the same time or has something similar. And that goes into some of the theological questions we were having earlier, but I'm loving the ideas here. I don't have a lot more to add than that. Yeah, Chris Branscombe on our chat just said that you can get those for like $30 for 100 on Amazon. So that's cool. Thanks for throwing that out to us. Kind of along that line, talk to me about how, Emily, you brought it up, and I love this. How are you guys now taking church from just this Sunday morning 1 hour experience to how are you now leveraging this opportunity and bringing it out through the week?
Since I mentioned it already, I'll just jump in and say that we just so happened we were doing 40 days of prayer. And so every morning we're doing, and I can't tell you how many times I'll get a quick text message saying, man, it was just so good to connect with the church this morning through just a Facebook Live, on an iPad prayer moment for 3 minutes and just receiving prayer requests. And we've seen that kind of uptick. And the longer this goes on, if this goes past the 1 hour, 40 days or not, I don't see any reason to stop it because it's a daily touch point. I was talking to another pastor and just like realizing this weight. And, I understand that not everyone watching this is a pastor, but I think that the sentiment still applies, whether you're a communicator or a pastor or whatever your role in the church is that like we just became online shepherds. And so just being a little bit more aware of our presence, what we're saying, what we're encouraging, and how we're adding or reducing the fear that's kind of prevalent, and just being aware of what we say. Yeah. So, now I find myself posting more on our social media pages, just posting more often things that assuage some of those fears or guide thoughts or center, give people something to meditate on much more than I used to. And not in a way like, oh, we didn't do this, but just it seems like it's more needed because just the interaction is through the roof right now. So again, an opportunity.
Guys, I think, right along with what Chris is saying, these short, simple kind of sweet little, like, here's some peace, here's some hope in Christ kind of stuff. I posted up a couple the last 2 days. By the time lunch hits,
Boom.
there's 1,000+ views.
Yeah.
People are sharing it out because they really are desperate for the hope you have to give. And so I speak to quality, guys, because I think we're in a time where we may overemphasize quality instead of just authenticity. So what's that line for you guys on quality of what you're putting out versus just putting out something authentic the best you can?
For us, Sunday morning is still going to be like, up here as far as planning all week and making sure it's high quality. I've conveniently married a video guy, so we've got a great camera in here and lights and stuff. But I'm hoping to do like worship days, just hang out with my guitar for an hour. I am not a good guitar player, but just, the 4 chords that all these songs require, and hoping to take that throughout the week and just kind of say like, hey, vote on your favorite songs, which is not how we go about like a Sunday morning worship service. But like, pick a couple that you like, vote, go on to Instagram stories and do polls and stuff like that, and kind of make it engaging for all different kinds of people, and not worried about the quality of it quite as much as the community of it.
Yeah, I love that this gives us an opportunity to take the center of worship out of Sunday and the service and into our daily lives. And these ideas you guys are sharing are fantastic. One of the things that I've been playing with in how to really live that out is, oh man, I had a distraction here. I totally lost my mind. I'll come back. Hold on a second.
One of the things I'll say is just to build on Emily's point she made earlier about this being an opportunity for the church is I want to second that and just see, we have to choose to see this, if you're a leader of a church, as an opportunity for the global church and for the local church, and encourage our people to see it that way too. Probably a lot of the theologically minded folks on here have probably heard of Stark's book on the early church. And it's a good book to revisit right now. It talks about the early church thriving under persecution, the church growing in times of being scattered, the church during the plague, and the response of the secular leaders saying, look at how the Christians deal with all of this adversity, and their values shine through, their heart shines through, and it led to the church being strengthened and growing, and discovering muscles and gifts that it didn't know the Spirit was giving. And really being its best self in its worst possible context. And and we have to assume that the Lord is going to work the exact same way now, that this is an opportunity for the church to be challenged and grow and thrive, and for our heart to be put on display. We have to see it as that. This is an opportunity for us.
And can you tell us the name of that book again real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Stark's The Early Church. The
Rise of Christianity.
The Rise of Christianity. Thank you.
It's on the feed now.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead, Ben. I stepped on your thought.
No, yeah, I was just saying what we got to remember is when we're putting stuff on social media, it isn't just our church that we're interacting with, that we are in a public forum, and what an amazing thing that is. And if we can help equip our people to be leaders and voices of hope beyond just sharing our words, but also through their words and experience, I think the whole world changes. So one of the things we did is we started, and we've had this for a while, but we just started really pressing this out. We created a Facebook page, not just for our church, but for our city. We call it Twin Cities in Prayer. And we watched that thing in the last 3 days increase by over 100 people. Just taking the prayers that we're already doing and inviting more people into it. So we have a high quality post we put out once a day, but everybody else is populating it with their own things throughout the day. So it's a little bit of both.
Yep. We're doing the same thing with Easter. So we have, we're going to put if our Easter service is online, which I think it's going to be. And even if it's not, we're still going to live stream whatever we do. So we bought a couple domain names 2 days ago. The one we're going to go with is easterforhouston.com. And we're going to put that out there as, if you don't have a place to watch and participate in Easter services, watch it here. And so it's just going to point to our website and the live stream that we've set up. And we'll have some pieces built into that page that allow people to let us know who they are. And if they want more information, if they want to register for like a free gift and some follow-up, they can do all that kind of through that page. But it's really just going to be us putting the live stream through YouTube on our page embedded there, and encourage everyone from around Houston to come and watch our live stream service. And then we're going to curate the content of that service to be specific for our Houston neighbors and not just like St. Mark's service. So this is an Easter service for Houston. And so all of our language will be welcome to all of our neighbors who are watching this with us and worshiping with us. And so we're going to make our live stream, try and make it the live stream for the city for Easter.
That's good.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
That's great. Kind of kicking off on Easter, we already had kind of in the works a text in type of series. So questions for the church, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it could be happening at a better time for us. Would be kicking off a series like, Can I Ask That, is what we've called it in the past. But we're just kind of pivoting from like, come to Easter to, I think we'll do something similar to what Matt was saying. That's great. I love that, kind of making it citywide, community-wide. But having an element that in our advertising or in our posts out there where people can interact with us directly and send in their hard questions, and then say that we're ready to answer them. Like, we're willing to answer those questions. I think it's going to be a nice participatory element for us, because we're going to integrate texting and our message series. And so I think that's going to be huge. I love what Emily, your church does. I feel like you have the text number up all the time in your service. I think for anybody live streaming, if you have the capability to add in some kind of overlay that has a text number or a reminder to be in the chat, because some people, when like if you stream through YouTube, for example, not to go into live stream too much, but if you stream through YouTube, a lot of people watch that on their TV and they're not going to be using the chat feature at all. Yeah. But if you add in a layer of texting, that brings them back in, because they're going to have their phone while they're watching on TV. So texting provides a real opportunity for us right now.
Yeah. Emily, what platform do y'all use for that?
The questions we use text in church.
Yeah.
As far as we do use live stream and have that banner with the number on it the whole time as well.
Cool.
Yeah, text in church is good. Another really good one is poll everywhere. That's another great kind of texting key one. And I think whatever you do, kind of just, if you pre-produce something, have that text number in the lower third. If you are doing it live, just make sure that you're constantly keeping it out in front of people so they don't have to kind of memorize it and they can easily engage with it. And if you're going to answer questions, another thing I would encourage you to do is create some private space for thought. If you're the one that's responding. So what I would not do is say, hey, I'm going to look at these right away. Having done that for years, I will tell you that it's always been nice to have that space I can go back to, because if I can go to a spot where I can be surprised in private, which happens rarely, but you don't want somebody to like throw out this question and you've got this look of like shock on your face before you try and answer it. Like, you want to be able to kind of come out and be like, hey, this is a great question, guys. Let me throw this out to you. Also, it allows you to be just a little bit more thoughtful. I've kind of found, and this could be my extroverted personality, if I have at least like a 1-song break where I can kind of sneak off to the side and just read through whatever questions come in, that also allows me to kind of aggregate multiple questions. So anytime you're kind of responding, if you can create that space, it's a really helpful thing.
I'm going to throw a link into the chat. That's some great article from Phil Cook about things to keep in mind when you're doing live stream services. Some really just practical stuff. So I just suggest people check it out.
That's awesome. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live right now and you're like, shoot, I can't see the chat, we're going to compile like all these links and some of these ideas that are being thrown out. We're going to throw them in a PDF and we're going to email them out to you, and we'll share them on whatever Facebook platforms we shared this live stream as well, just so that you guys can grab a hold of those resources, and should be ready in the next day or so. But we want to make sure that's available to you.
I was just thinking, Seth, did you say the banner underneath the lower third? If you aren't in a position to have those capabilities right now. One thing we're also doing is we're trying to have all the resources on our website on a specific like watch live page, and just going to continue verbally pointing people there with, you know, this is the number's there, our online check-in is there, our resources to discuss with your family, it's all going to be there in case, and we'll verbally push in case there is anyone who's not paying attention, or if you don't have that at all.
And jumping back to a point that Matt, you were talking about excellence and the balance between excellence and what Emily was just saying. Don't let this, if this techie talk, because I know there's obviously people watching who don't quite have, you know, a high budget or all of the gear and equipment and stuff. Don't let high tech scare you away. I mean, really, this is actually a season where authenticity will win the day more than, you know, just like, you know, because people are going to be they've binged Netflix and they've been entertained and they've been entertained. They want authenticity. They want interaction. It's actually probably better if you're in your living room. It's actually probably better if it just feels like they're talking to you, because this is what, again, in the social distancing, they're just going to want that kind of interaction. If you're like, oh, I can't do a lower third, well, get a whiteboard and write up behind you on a whiteboard. You don't need, you know, like you don't need all, this is just, I saw somebody who couldn't figure out, it was Matt Litikainen. He was showing me his live stream yesterday, and he called me and we were talking, and for his lyrics, he had the lyrics on a TV screen. So he just panned the camera to the TV screen and then panned the camera back to him. It was fine, man. And it totally works. So don't let a lack of technology stop you from doing this. And honestly, I would say if you're going to invest any money and any resources right now towards technology, before software and before a nice camera, I would get good audio. You will watch a bad video with good audio so much longer than you'll watch a great audio with bad video. I think I said that wrong. Yeah. So much longer than you'll watch a great video with bad audio. Bad audio is a deal breaker. And if it's echoey, if it's reverby, if the microphone is way, 15 feet away and you're talking and it's just echo, get a lapel mic or figure out how to get a lapel mic connected to your computer, because that is the only kind of like excellence factor I think that is mandated here. Everything else, man, if you're on your phone, those videos can go viral. It's fine. Don't let it scare you.
Yeah, guys, I want to jump in on what Chris said, because I've got condenser mics in the basement. I've got, all kinds of stuff to hook up to the computer. One of the thing that has been my staple through this season is just my AirPods and my phone. With the AirPods, I can put the phone back so I get a good picture, and the AirPods give me quality audio.
Yeah. How much are AirPods?
Well, look, like so the last 2 nights, Stephen Colbert has hosted his entire show on one of the big 4 networks from his backyard and then from his bathtub with nothing but an iPhone and AirPods. Yeah. Right. So if that's kind of good enough to make it work for CBS, it can be good enough to make it work for you. It's not about having high tech. It's about having enough tech and using, and which almost everybody has by virtue of their phones, and then using it really smartly. It doesn't take any technology to speak directly to the camera. It doesn't take any technology to choose songs that people are more likely to know by heart. It doesn't take any technology to be mindful of the end user experience and how you speak and the pacing that you choose and all those things. Those are really like the most critical pieces. It doesn't take any technology to frame your shot like this instead of like this. That doesn't take any technology. Just be mindful of those things. And those are the things that put it over the top and make it something that people can watch for 40 plus minutes.
Yeah, and YouTube is going to have some great basic videos on how to set up like a good shot, and they'll be easy to follow. So listen, guys, I've got 2 questions for you before we maintain out. Mark Rubio, yours is a great question. We're gonna end with that one. But the question I've got for you guys is on the giving front, because obviously, one of the biggest impacts of not coming in person is, dollars and cents in the church. So how are you guys navigating kind of the giving front of church, or at least thinking about how you might navigate that?
That's a big deal, because a lot of the churches we work with don't have an online giving platform. So Link is working in the background right now. So if you know anybody that fits into that, circle, and I'll put that out there. We're working in the background to make our online giving platform available and affordable. We're trying to eliminate any costs, especially for those small churches who don't have that access, so that you can encourage people and have a window to do that. So I'll just add that out there, and then love to hear you guys' ideas.
I know Seth, you guys have been having some big conversations about this. Honestly, you're probably more developed in your thought process than at least me. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing, Seth.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. So staying connected with our community, like our people, through just continual email communication has been big. Reminding people about the importance of it. I think for us, we have, I don't know, we use Shelby Next or some kind of weird platform. It doesn't really matter the platform so much as just reducing the number of clicks it takes to get people to give has been important for us. We as a church have been continually trying to move people towards digital giving. And so in our church services, we remind people that, more than half of our congregation has moved on to digital giving. So just keeping it in front of people and then keeping text numbers in front of people has been big. I don't know if there was a specific question, I could probably get to it, but
I think Steve Gass said that Faith Life is offering their premium online giving service for free for the next 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, I think Tithely is another big one. I mean, there's 1,000,001 out there. PushPay is also pretty decent.
A small thing that we did that really helps, or we've done it before, we're going to do it now again, is we created a special URL just for our giving that's easy to remember. So you could do like support and then your church's name. And then that makes it easy because you can link that URL directly to that main page of your giving. Right. It's easy for you to say a couple times. And then if somebody if you have an app and they don't have it downloaded, or they just have a mobile web browser, they can easily type that link into their URL and it'll take them right to that spot. Yeah,
to kind of keep talking on that, we talked about texting a little bit earlier. We use a program, and again, there's a lot of texting services out there, but like if you type give to this 5-digit number, we use txtsignal.com as our just automated response thing. So we have the keyword give and this 5-digit number. So if somebody's on their couch and they're not by their computer or whatever, but they have their phone, all they need to do is type in give to this 5-digit thing, and it just reduces the friction from giving. It just makes it easy for people.
Yeah, we don't use the same service, but we use Realm. And the two important things for us were that it had a mobile-friendly interface for giving. So if you go to our website and you click Give Online, it opens a mobile-friendly interface that doesn't require an account before you can start filling out content, right? Because that's a stop for a lot of people. It says Give Online, and then it's like, enter your login info. People are like, I don't have login info. I'm not going to do this. So one of the things is like you want it to be able to start engaging the end user with how much would you like to give? When would you like to give it? Give us your info. And then if it doesn't have an account, because they all require some type of an account, then it walks you through that process. But after you've already started engaging in the act of giving online. So that was an important piece for us. And then the other piece was the ability to text because virtually, I'm going to make up a number off the top of my head. I'm going to do some pastor math. Virtually all of our people under the age of 30, they want to text in church. They want to text giving. So the same 5-digit number, text and give, but it points them right back to this mobile friendly piece right here. And so, but what it also allows us to do is anybody who texts in a gift allows us to get that information, and then we respond to them the next day and say, thanks for giving. And we send notes to everyone who gives their first time gift or their largest ever gift. We send notes to.
Oh, that's huge. That's good. That's good. Yeah, guys, that's some really great stuff. And I think too, from a practical standpoint, the Oxano group released this, but just, from a financial team perspective, get your finance team starting to prepare a 10, 20, and 30% reduced budget, which I know might seem scary at first, but then at least you started thinking through that so you can see how some of these other things are impacting you. So guys, one, thank you for being a part of this. We put this together in like less than 24 hours. So thank you guys so much for being a part. The last question we've got is, you know, what are some things you're doing to maintain a sense of normalcy for people as they're walking through this time?
I can't speak for anyone who is in literal quarantine, but just been reaching out to some of the leaders on our like volunteer team and stuff and saying like, hey, usually we connect on Sundays. We can't do that. Please be reaching out and like inviting people over for dinner, inviting people over for drinks, inviting people over to play pool, like 2-3 people at a time. Do what you can do as a friend. Don't lean on the things we used to lean on. And it's not normal because we actually didn't always hang out in everybody, you know, our friends' houses, but it's, I think, normal for humanity. And until we're told not to meet in small groups, I think that'll be the best thing for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think just communicating, and it's going to be above average right now. It's going to feel like way too much. But I think the less you communicate, the more fearful people are going to be. But I think just even hopping on, like a lot of people have said, just hopping on Facebook Live with your phone and just sharing an encouraging message helps maintain normalcy, just because it is a stressful time. You know, we don't know what's happening, but the more that you can be out there and just encouraging and providing just a normal face that they're used to seeing on Sunday mornings or whatever, I think it's helpful because it calms people down and reminds them that we're all in this together. They're not alone. So I think just being willing to try things that you're uncomfortable with at first, like Facebook Live or whatever it is, but just communicate. Don't wait. Just get out there and try to start building community through your online content.
I don't know. This doesn't actually quite directly answer your question because this isn't normal, you know. But what this has done, and this is pivoting off of your question, so give me some grace here, Matt, and whoever texted that in. But what this has done is just given a new lens to read familiar scripture, given a new perspective to look at normal sections of scripture. We were talking about our Easter, like, okay, how do we had a great Easter plant and none of it works anymore, you know? And we were talking about the Easter story, and then we just started looking at it, the Easter account and the biographies of Jesus with this lens of social distancing and fear. And all of a sudden we're like, well, okay, well, there's Jesus and he's, you know, and Mary's grieving at the tomb because she feels a sense of isolation. She feels separation. And who doesn't identify with that? And then I started to think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. The disciples were in an intense quarantine situation for fear of the Jews. They were hiding. And Jesus, God with us, breaks through the walls of the quarantine and connects and touches with us and says, I am with you. I'm risen from the grave. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I just wrote my Easter message in a nanosecond by looking at that account through the lens of what our people are going through. And I think, and let God do that, you know, steal away if you want to, but let God do that for you guys. And kind of embrace the abnormality of this. And it breathes new life into very familiar sections of scripture.
God, that's huge. Yeah, I think you just wrote my Easter message, so I appreciate it.
Right? It's like right there.
You know, some stuff that's come through the chat, because you guys have great ideas in the chat. One connection group that met through Zoom met 30 minutes early and just drank wine together and kind of talked about the Bible study. There's a thing called Holy Yoga that's been going around up here. They did Holy Yoga via Zoom, so they could kind of connect in person. We've had like play dates with kids through Zoom. Stuff like that is huge. The one thing I will encourage you, and I think I've got a unique perspective in this now, about Wednesday before it hit the fan, my family went on a trip to Florida, and I was going to stay here and work for 1 week. So now I've been here for the last week plus by myself, and we're all trying to figure out when we will be back together. But keep in mind too, those that are truly isolated, like nobody else is in their home, you know, elderly people that were already shut in. You know, people just reaching out to me, inviting me over for dinner, even though I've had to turn down like most of the requests, has just been a huge encouragement to me. It's like, hey, you know, I've got friends and family around here, even though I can't have my kids like in the house with me. So That's huge.
Just one comment kind of on the isolated. There's a whole audience that we're not really aware of when we think about kind of the isolated people. It's the social media lurker, people that just are online, but they never engage. They may like a few posts here and there. Those people are in your community right now. There's an opportunity if you go on Facebook right now and start exploring what Facebook groups already exist in your community. So for us in West County, St. Louis, it's West County, St. Louis. And then you just search and there's like 5 groups that already exist and they have thousands of people in them. There are a lot of questions flying around right now in those groups. There are real opportunities for us to put content in there and say, hey, I don't know if you're going to be able to find your church or get to your church in person, but if you want to be a part of our live stream, that's fine too. And answering and engaging, I think there's a lot of opportunity to build relationships in your community. And it may be the people that like or dislike your post, but it also might be people that never engage with your content, so you won't know they're there. But being in those groups and being part of the conversation is an opportunity. You might impact somebody that you'll never meet. So one opportunity right there is just Facebook community groups that already exist.
Yeah, and I want to highlight what Seth said about, engage and comment. Don't jump on a group for the first time and be the spammy, like come to my church live stream. You need it. I know you do. But I think if you naturally engage with the comments and stuff like that, you'll get a much better response from people in doing that. Yeah, man, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this. For those of you that have been watching, if it's been helpful for you, if you're webinaring it right now, if you're watching the live webinar, you can use that same link to share it out. This is going to be available on demand. And then also, if you're watching it on Facebook, you can share that out through the Facebook page. It'll stay up as long as it's needed. And if there's more topics you know of, feel free to comment below. Feel free to send us an email. Clearly my kids aren't here. I've got plenty of time to gather some more people together and throw some more webinars. But to our panelists, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this and just taking the time.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
See you guys later.